Hey y'all, so today I'm going to be doing the rapid fire book tag. I've seen these tag videos popping up around BookTube, so I decided to go ahead and join in. I haven't even looked at the questions very much, especially since this is supposed to be kind of a rapid fire book tag, so I'm going to try to answer these a lot more quickly than I normally answer things, and let's just go ahead and jump into the questions. Question number 1 is ebooks or physical books? And definitely physical books. I do have a Kindle, which I do use, but I definitely prefer to read a physical book. The next question is paperback or hardback? And I think I kind of have two answers for this. I think I typically prefer to physically read a paperback, but I think that hardbacks look nicer, so it kind of depends on the book for me. Next is online or in-store shopping. As far as the experience, I definitely prefer in-store because it's nice to just go into the bookstore and to search for the book you're looking for and then to find it and to be able to take it home with you that day. But for the prices, definitely online shopping. It's so much easier. You don't even have to leave your house, you can just sit in bed and do it, and it's typically cheaper if you find it at the right places. The next question is trilogies or series, and this is a no-brainer for me. Series, series, series. I love series so much. There are a lot of trilogies that I enjoy, and I've definitely found more trilogies that I really love over the past year, so that's kind of boosted my opinion on trilogies, but still, series are my favorite. Series are better than trilogies, are better than standalones. I love series so much. The next question is heroes or villains, and I mean, I guess the obvious answer here is heroes because of course you want to root for the hero, but I love a good villain and a good anti-hero. For example, I am a Big Brother fan and I'm watching the current season, and while I love a bunch of people and I'm rooting for them as heroes, Paul is such an awesome villain and I love watching him, and I'm going to be really sad when he inevitably spirals to his doom in the next few weeks. The next question is a book you want everyone to read. Sorry, I've got to do the cop-out answer. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Read the Harry Potter series, it's amazing. So the next question is to recommend an underrated book, and this one was a lot easier than the last one. The Merchant of Death by DJ MacHale, which is the first book in the Pendragon series. I've talked about the series quite a bit on my channel, and I will leave a link up in the cards to my video where I reviewed the series. This is a series I've loved since middle school, and I think that it is a really awesome middle grade / young adult fantasy series, and it's just really awesome. The next question is last book that you finished, and that is Calamity by Brandon Sanderson, which is the third book in the Reckoners trilogy. I'm not going to talk about it too much because it will be in my June wrap-up, but I enjoyed this. I liked the trilogy. Brandon Sanderson can do no wrong. We all know that this is my opinion of Brandon Sanderson. The next question is last book that you bought, and not to be redundant, but Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson, which is the first book in the Reckoners trilogy. I picked it up from the library back in May, and I decided that I wanted to have my own copy, so I went ahead and I got one. The next question is weirdest thing that you've used as a bookmark, and off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything weird. I'm definitely not someone who has ever dog-eared pages. That just makes me cringe as someone who wants to be a librarian, but I do tend to stick like coupons or receipts or scraps of paper instead of just bookmarks if that's what I have laying around. If I have a pen next to me and I plan on coming back to the book in a couple minutes, I'll just stick a pen in there. I can't really think of anything weird, but those are the less conventional items that I have used as bookmarks. I'm sure there's a weirder one somewhere in the past, but I can't think of it right now. The next question is used books, yes or no? And this is an obvious yes. I love used bookstores. They are my favorite places in the world. Of course, when I do get used books, I do make sure that they are in fairly good condition or good condition. I don't want to just buy an old, trashed used book, but I love used bookstores. So the next question is top 3 favorite genres. So obviously topping the list is fantasy. That should be no secret. I mean, look at all the Brandon Sanderson, look at all the fantasy here, look at that, like I love fantasy. My next favorite, when it's done right, is definitely dystopians. I mean, there are a ton of YA dystopians that are not that great and pretty generic, but when dystopia is done right, it is awesome. Which is why a lot of my favorite fantasy novels end up being the ones with the really intricate political plot lines, like corrupt governments or like really messed up dystopian governments are really interesting to me. And then I think that the third genre really has to be like mysteries / murder mysteries. And then There Were None is my favorite standalone. Clue is one of my favorite movies. Anything that involves a group of people getting together for a dinner party where one of them gets killed is just right up my alley. When I was a kid, mystery was hands down my favorite genre, and while I've grown more into fantasy than into mystery, I will always love a good mystery novel. The next question is borrow or buy, and I typically prefer to buy books given that I have a lot of books behind me and I own a lot of books, but I will borrow if I am not wanting to spend money on that particular book or if I'm on a book buying ban, but I do prefer in general to buy if I can. So the next question is characters or plot, and this one's really difficult for me because my brain immediately says to say plot, but then when I think about it, I think about all these characters that I'm incredibly attached to, so that complicates it a little bit. That being said, I think I'm still gonna go ahead and say plot, just because when I think about all of my favorite books that aren't Harry Potter, I'm more attached to the plot than I am to the characters. I fell in love with the books more because of the plot than the characters. The next question is long or short books, and this one is a no-brainer. Long books. I love long books. And of course there are some stories that just aren't suited for a long book, but in general I definitely prefer long books. I feel like long books give me more of an opportunity to fall in love with the characters, for the plot to be developed, and for the world to be developed, and I just prefer long books. The next question is long or short chapters, and this one, quite honestly for me, just varies by book. I guess if I have to choose, I'd say short chapters, but really if I'm being honest, I wish that there was just a in the middle option, because a lot of times really long chapters can make it feel like you're not making any progress, and a lot of times really short chapters can make the book feel kind of choppy, so I really prefer somewhere in the middle, but yeah, I guess short. The next question is to name the first 3 books that you think of. Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, and City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Those were the first 3 that came to my mind, which makes sense because I love Harry Potter and the Mortal Instruments, and I'm currently reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. The next question is books that made you laugh or cry. Just off the top of my head, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows obviously made me cry quite a lot. The Reckoners trilogy by Brandon Sanderson makes me laugh quite a bit because one of the characters makes these really bad similes all the time and they're just so cringy and awful. And City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare made me both laugh and cry a lot. So the next question is our world or fictional worlds? And this one's really a toss-up for me because while I do like fantasy, I love both urban fantasy and high fantasy. So I love books that are both set in our world, and I love books that are set in some sort of fictional world. I guess if I had to choose, I would say fictional worlds, just because that means that the author had to come up with this entirely different place, and that means we get a lot of world building, which is one of my favorite things. So I love both, but if I had to choose, I would say a fictional world. The next question is audiobooks, yes or no? And for this one, I'm gonna go with no. Not that I'm against audiobooks, but I just don't listen to them. I've never really gotten into them that much. I've considered giving them a try again because I've gotten into podcasts a lot lately, but as of right now, I really don't listen to audiobooks at all, and I'm not sure that I will in the foreseeable future, but obviously I have nothing against audiobooks. The next question is, do you ever judge a book by its cover? And obviously yes, everyone has done this. Right now I have The Selection by Kiera Cass checked out from the library, and you're probably like, Kristen, that seems like nothing that you would want to read, and you are absolutely correct. This cover immediately turns me off from it because not only is it the girl in the dress on the cover trope, but it actually fits the book. Like, if the girl in the dress trope actually fits the book, it's probably not something I'm interested in. However, I did check this out from the library recently because I've read a lot of really negative reviews of this, and I feel like this would be a really fun book to read through and just laugh at some of the dumb things within it. So I feel like I'm gonna really enjoy it with that aspect, but yes, I am judging this book by its cover so hardcore. The next question is book to movie adaptations or book to TV adaptations. This one is a little bit difficult because I feel like all of the book to screen adaptations that I have watched and enjoyed have been book to movie adaptations. However, I think that logically the TV format would fit for books more often than a movie format would. Like, I think that most books would get a truer to book adaptation if they did it in TV form, because you do have an entire show or an entire season at least to play out the book in its entirety. The The next question is there a movie or TV adaptation that you actually prefer to the book? So there are actually 4 that I can think of off the top of my head, but since I can kind of see this being a good video idea, I'm just going to talk about one of them here, and that is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the book, but I read it when I was almost 17, and I saw the movie when I was like 9. So I was a fan of the movie long before I was a fan of the book, long before I even knew that it was a book. So I just had the movie so firmly planted in things that I love that the book just didn't really hold up to it for me. Maybe that would be different if I were to read the book before seeing the movie, but in pretty much all of these cases, yes, all of these cases that I can think of in the top of my mind, all of them I saw the movie or TV show before I read the book. So I think for me, it's typically whichever one I experience first is the one that I usually end up comparing the other one to and enjoying more. And finally, the last question is series or standalones? And for this one, like I said earlier, series. Series are my favorite things on the planet. I just love long series, whether it be 7 books like the Harry Potter series, 10 books like the Pendragon series, 6 like the Mortal Instruments, any of those. I love series a lot. As aforementioned, I feel like it just gives you more time to develop the world, the characters, the plot, everything, and it makes me fall in love even more with all of those things because I spend so much more time in that world with those characters experiencing the plot. So yeah, there are definitely books and stories that are better suited to standalones and would be a disaster if you had to spread it out across a series, but in general, I would always prefer to read a series. So that is it for the rapid fire book tag. I'm not going to tag anyone just because I don't know who all has done it, but if you want to do it, I tag you. Let me know down in the comments what you think of any of the books or opinions I have talked about today. As always, I will leave links down in the description to my blog, Twitter, and Goodreads. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!